here to bring the names, the stories, and the identities of the men at Guantanamo before U.S. Superior Court, as we have brought the names and stories and identities of these men before the U.S. Federal District Court and before the U.S. Supreme Court.
On January 11th, 80 people were arrested at the U.S. Supreme Court. About half were arrested on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court and were charged with unlawful speech on Supreme Court grounds. The other half, who were arrested inside, received an additional charge of causing a harangue within the Supreme Court.
Each defendant is wearing an orange jumpsuit and a black hood, and they're also carrying the name of the prisoner that they carried on January 11th when they were arrested.
The prisoner whose name I carried was Sami al-Haj. Sami is a Sudanese man, a journalist. He was working on assignment for Al Jazeera when he was captured on the Pakistani border. He has an 8-year-old son, Mohammed, whom, because he was being held in Guantanamo, hadn't seen for 6 years. Like many before him and many who were with him, Sami went on a hunger strike. And all the while he was strapped to a restraint chair and a feeding tube was put through his nose, and it was a tube that was contaminated with bodily fluids from the person who had been used on before. During the trial, some of us have decided to be silent. It's a gesture of solidarity with the Guantanamo prisoners who aren't allowed to defend themselves. They aren't allowed to see the evidence against them, and many, like Sami, aren't allowed to have a lawyer by their side if they have a hearing. So Sami was released just recently. His health is compromised, and he carries with him the wounds and the scars of that detention.
We are keenly aware today that in the 5 months since our arrests, we have made it further in the criminal justice system than the men we stand on behalf of.
We will continue to bring these names and stories and identities of the more than 200 men who remained imprisoned at Guantanamo before U.S. courts of justice until we wear a path that is straight and clear, a path that the men can walk themselves, a path through war politics, through vengeful rhetoric, through moribund ethics, and through almost insatiable violence.